Plaquemine Parish Council, April 13, 2023, is now called to order at 4:14 p.m. We'll have roll call. Let the record reflect that all 9 council members are present. We'll move to item 2, please.
Item 2, executive session. A, pursuant to LRS 421617, discussion of possible prospective litigation regarding joining the Attorney General and other parishes challenging FEMA's Risk Rating 2.0 program and methodology. Attorney Rennie Esbier, second. Councilmember LaFrance.
Do you want to do all three in globo?
We'll do them together.
Okay.
B, discussion of litigation in accordance with LRS 4417A2 in regards to the Louisiana Fruit Company versus Plaquemines Parish Government, docket number 67365, Division B, 25th Judicial District Court, Parish of Plaquemines, State of Louisiana. Attorney Jacques Tuzet and Rennie Esbier, second. Councilmember LaFrance. C, discussion of litigation in accordance with LRS 4417A2 in regards to Plaquemines Parish Government versus Robert A. Barnett, Continental Casualty Company, and XYZ Insurance Company. Attorney William Culver and Jacques Tuzet. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offer. Second. Seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Machines are open. And the measure passes 9-0. We will go into executive session at 4:16 p.m. We'll return from executive session at 5:35 p.m. There was no binding or final decision made in executive session. We'll move to the next item, please.
3, proclamations. A proclamation declaring the month of April 2023 as Fair Housing Month in the Parish of Plaquemines. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offer. Can I get a unanimous second? We have a unanimous second.
Four, status report by the parish. You want to read the whole? Okay.
We have to vote on it.
A proclamation declaring the month of April 2023 as Fair Housing Month in the Parish of Plaquemines. Councilmember LaFrance. Do you want me to read the whole thing?
We have a motion, we have a unanimous second. Any discussion from the table? Machines are open.
I need to find, what is this proclamation about? Because especially since you're talking about fair housing in Plaquemine.
You have the proclamation, could you read it?
A proclamation declaring the month of April 2023 as Fair Housing Month in the Parish of Plaquemines. Whereas the 55th anniversary of the National Fair Housing Law, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 during the month of April is an occasion for all Americans, individually and collectively, to rededicate themselves to the principle of freedom from housing discrimination whenever it exists. And whereas this law guarantees for each citizen the critical personal element of freely choosing a home, and whereas a fair housing law has been passed by the state of Louisiana, and implementation of the law requires the positive commitment, involvement, and support of each of our citizens, and whereas the department and agencies of the state of Louisiana are to provide leadership in the effort to make fair housing not just an idea, but an ideal for all of our citizens. And whereas barriers that diminish the rights and limit the options of any citizen to freely choose a home will ultimately diminish the rights and limit the options of all. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Plaquemines Parish Council, represented by its duly authorized chairman, Carlton M. LaFrance Sr., and by concurrence of the parish president, Keith Hinckley, representing the Plaquemines Parish Government, that it hereby declares the month of April 2023 as Fair Housing Month in the Parish of Plaquemines. That's it.
You know, my problem with this proclamation, when I look at the fact that people are forced to elevate their houses, that's not fair housing. The fact that if a hurricane come, I got the elevator in my house 14 feet, and I can't get permit, while we passing this, but in actuality, fair housing don't exist, because I'm forced to elevate my house. So we can pass this as a ceremonial, but it's not real.
Excuse,
Ms. McCarthy?
I think fair housing is more concerned with the cost of housing. If anyone can chime in on that?
But let me ask you this. This to go back to the Fair
And rent.
Housing Act that took place where people demonstrate. So I know the history of fair housing, the Fair Housing Act. I'm just saying for us to pass this, we're not operating out the intent of its original purpose. We're not operating it when we are forcing people to elevate their house. We're not doing that. I mean, what this is doing is a continuation of something that happened way back when, but we're not living that true when we are forcing people to elevate their houses.
This is something that we do as a condition of receiving federal grants. There are certain things that the parish has to do proactively to support federal programs, and this is one of the things we do that we use when we're audited for our grants and stuff to show that we're promoting these federal government activities. So it is essential that you pass it.
Any more comments from the table? Audience?
Do that include redlining also?
Redlining?
Redlining. Nobody never heard of redlining. Wow. I've been there since the 1940s.
I've heard of it. Most of y'all know that I've been involved in housing for quite some time. I've served on Louisiana Housing Corporation's board, which was charged with the responsibility of disseminating the federal funds for the state of Louisiana. I have worked on projects for Plaquemine Parish and some against it. Which you talked about fair housing, the intent of the Fair Housing Bill was meant to treat everybody fairly, and they were not discriminated against in any form or fashion relative to housing. And it's been done in practice all over. I've been chairman of the Landlords Association for Orleans Parish. We have 7,580 landlords in my group that we deal with low-income housing with the Housing Authority. I've dealt with fair housing in Washington and in Region 6, which is over in Fort Worth. We don't have a problem right now in fair housing. You talk about elevations. It's a travesty what's happened to that. That's a federal regulation. One hand doesn't know what the other hand's doing. There is funds available, though, for Plaquemine Parish, and if we don't get involved in it, Keith really hadn't been involved in this for a long time, but we watched $5.5 million get left on the drawing board that was wasted in a crossover breezeway. That never took place to forward that. There's funds available right now and mitigation money in the state for elevation that can be taken in there. I brought the chairman of the Louisiana Housing Corporation, which monitors these programs, to the council at one time, and their staff to talk about what programs are available. There are funds available to treat fairly. I've talked to Colton about Irontown and what's available left over. It's still going on. Do not discount what fair housing is. There's plenty federal money available that can take care of the people that are living in poverty for this parish. I'm not going to go on, but I can introduce y'all, bring them down to visit with you. I'm still friends with most of the people that's on the board, and take care of your people. There's money available.
Thank you. Reverend Everett?
Yeah, to your statement, many years ago, I remember when the Councilman Jose Ned was here, was trying to create something similar to a housing authority to address the housing need, where we got a lot of people still for Katrina, 3 and 4 families living in one house because we don't have a housing program in Plaquemine Parish. I know that Mr. Singleton with the Pilgrim Rest Community Development Corporation tried to attempt to come and address the housing problem you know, parish. When the Community Action Agency was created, it was created with the intent that something would happen to address the housing issue that affecting poor people in this parish. And so that haven't happened. You know, so I'm not moving away from my statement. I'm staying on my statement because I know the condition that people live in this parish, and this parish is far beyond addressing the housing need of poor people in this parish. I am not moving from that because all the evidence there to show. I know 5 and 6 families living in housing because we don't have a housing program to address that issue.
There was just you have a community activist program that does housing, and that was,
Allow you one time to come.
okay, I was just responding back to him.
But on that end, I know there was a project that was done at Home Place that was never completed. So, but anyway, that's it. Any more comments from the audience? We're gonna move this meeting on. Machines are open. And the measure passes 9-0. Next item, please.
4, status report by the parish president.
Earlier this week, we had a water situation in District 5 at Fort St. Leon. We did put out on Facebook, the parish's Facebook site, and also Patrick had told me that he even kind of shared it with the neighborhood Facebook page. But obviously, that's not enough. And in the future, Barrier Construction was also supposed to go out and put some hangers on the doors. They failed to do that. So in the future, we're going to have to take a little bit better control of that situation right there and better inform the public as to, you know, what the situation might be. On the Bureau of Sewerage here, Habo, there's 2 lift stations that we're having issues with. One has been designed and we can't find where the other one is. It hasn't been designed. Is this on Coleman? Do you know?
I think it's on, one's on Highway 11,
Okay.
out of Bus Barn, and one's right above there.
Okay.
I know the gal.
Well, we'll be going out in the next 2 weeks to do these assessments.
CL Lane, CLD.
So, okay. Well, we'll be making assessments on those.
And by the Bureau's auditorium.
Okay, so we have 3 of them then, possible problems there. Okay. But look, we'll have some answers for you on that by the next meeting and a little bit more status on that right there. So we know that on one of the stations, they must have a temporary pump. And I think what happens is when that pump turns on, it forces just a little too much and it's starting to back up, if that's what I'm understanding right there.
One, the pipe leaks into the ditch.
Yeah.
And we pump around the block.
Yeah, okay, so,
The one across from the auditorium, I know I've seen it coming up out the.
all right. But, well, we'll have some better answers for you in the next 2 weeks there on that right there, so, okay. We have some elevation grant meetings coming up. Hurricane Ida grant update meeting is going to be on the 18th at the YMCA, the Port Sulphur YMCA. HGA is going to be there, the permits department, Ms. Dove, who is our grant administrator, and myself as the administration will be there as well. 2 more meetings. We got Restore Louisiana, the community meeting at the Braithwaite Auditorium. That'll be April 21st. And Restore Louisiana community meeting April 26th will be at the Bell Chase Auditorium. On the West Point Lahash water plant, the contractor, he's going to submit their documents here this week, so we'll be signing the contracts on that, and that construction should get started. But keep in mind, that's still going to take about 18 months. But we're also pursuing temporary repairs on the station, on the water station as well, to get water going within the next 2 to 3 months there. We're also looking at possibly in the future, because that is truly the industrial corridor that's going through the parish right there. So, you know, they've got the Bell Chase Station has been designed to be able to supply water throughout the parish. So in the future, what we're possibly exploring right now because of Venture Global and some of the other businesses that are being talking about establishing in that area. They're going to be needing quite a bit of water. So what we're talking about and looking at is taking the West Point Lahash water station, is creating an industrial water plant right there to service them. But keep in mind, the Belle Chase plant does have the capacity to be able to supply, I believe it is, all the way to Empire right there. We may just have to put some relay stations along the way to keep the pressure up. There's some issues with the water line that isn't going through the Port Sulphur area. It's cast iron pipe. And what they're saying is we're at the end of our life on that right there, because what they can't do when they go to do repairs on it and they put the clamp and they start clamping it down, the cast iron is just old and decrepit. So I believe we've got like about $265,000 in a water line project. We may have to come to you, Mr. Carlton, in the future for about another $100,000, so we can start looking at that, start getting that. Start doing the engineering design on that project so we can move forward with that as well. Highway 11 design is underway. We're also taking into consideration right there by the Pogie plant with the sewer station. So it doesn't make sense to repair the road and have to come back in the future and repair the lift station. So we're going to incorporate that in the project there. So as soon as we get that design, we'll get together and let you know what direction we're, go up or down or what we can do with the monies that we have appropriated right there. I did meet with the governor last week. Mr. Ballet was with me and Senator Connick was with me. Although it was a good meeting, but really didn't come back, with a real touchy-feel-good feeling. So I think what we need to do is we need to come together. I guess what we have to do first thing is we have to wait and see what the port is going to be, what the commissioners for the port and what direction you guys are going to go right there. If you're going to move forward with the deck action or what. But I think what we need to do as a parish, if our DA is going to get engaged and, our senator, he is engaged with it, get with our state rep, we need to come together and see what do we really want to do. The first thing we need to do is the bridge needs to get built, okay? It may take a couple, 2 or 3, 4 years before we can finally come up with a decision as to how we can pay this bridge off. What I'm being told, get the bridge built. There's a way to get out of the contract. It's a buyout on the contract. We get a third-party assessment on the bridge. But there's a whole lot of moving parts, as I'm sure Mr. Schultz knows there, with all the different monies. We've got grants. There's several different type of grants that are in it. And then there's going to become the day when it's plenary's money. So what I'd like for us to do in the future is to sit down together and see where these grants are and then see where plenary's money is. And if there's a toll, somehow or another, that's where the toll should come into place right there. We shouldn't be having to pay tolls. And, if it's $100 million, look, I get it. When you borrow money to build a house, if you borrow $100,000, it's going to cost you maybe $200,000-300,000 at the end of the day. But it's not going to cost you $800,000. So, again, at the end of the day, the bridge is built. We get that third-party assessment. Then we try to identify what are the monies that we need to do, and then we go search for that money to get the bridge paid off at that time right there. On Coastal, I had the opportunity last week, went down to off of Tidewater Road. It's Spanish Pass. Pretty phenomenal. If you guys haven't had the opportunity to do it, I'd recommend anyone here in the building right now to go down there. It is truly... It's pretty awesome. We drove 3.5 miles out into the marsh through the bays and all. You're looking on your phone. You're in the middle of a bay, but you're in an area it's probably like 2,000 feet wide. But we drove 3.5 miles, and there's still another 3.5 miles at the end of the day where it's going to be completed. I think I thought it was more than 132 acres, but that's about it. I thought it was more like 2,000 acres. 1,600 acres of land right there that's being created. Suzie Bayou right here off of Wood Park, that's a dredging project that's it's just now underway. The west enclosure off of Bayou Road, off of Walker Road, there was some levees that were sloughing off. Those we started this week or last week. We started on that project, and that's a levee project that I don't know if you know where the big flood the pump station is right there. That's where this levee project is. So that should be getting finished up here in the next day or two. We've started making phone calls on the grant administrators, so that process is underway. So hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to get together. And once we get those identified and we get them under contract, we need to come together as a group and say, here's what we want to go after. And we task them with that order right there. But I would highly recommend that we all work together on that right there. So I think we can do it. That is it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for your report. Any comments from the table?
I just had a question on
People on the queue.
YMCA. What is that date and what is it for?
Oh, the YMCA, let me look at it. What's it? It's HG. They're the, that's the, go ahead, Ms. Crystal.
That meeting is on the 18th at the Port Southwold YMCA, and that will be talking about elevation, the elevation of the homes and things, bringing the people up to speed.
Thank you.
They're going to have the answers. We're just going to be there in support of them right there.
Ms. McCarthy?
I'd like to address the water situation in Fort St. Leon North. The water was turned off on April 10th, right after a holiday. And I do know that there was an email that was sent out to people who subscribed to the list approximately a week before. But people went on vacation, and we just simply forgot, myself included. I saw that a week ago. I think we can do a better job. I want the people to know that we've already had difficult, stern conversations within the government, but I want them to know that we feel that social media is not appropriate form of communication with the citizens. And we might have to turn back to older methods if we can't employ the emergency management system to draw a geofence around a neighborhood and inform people. Because I had talked with Patrick Henry about a week ago of using the emergency management system to communicate with citizens, for the council members to communicate within their districts certain information. And he said that it had to be a life or death type situation. But for some people who have immunocompromised systems, the elderly, and in some forms handicapped, who need to have distilled water or filtered water to run machinery, it could be a life or death situation for them. So I think at a minimum, we have electronic signs. We're using electronic signs right now to advertise the boil off. We should station a sign over there all the time. The traffic is constantly changing. The way that the traffic is moving is changing. The tunnel is closing. It's open. We have lost 3 of the 5 entrances to that neighborhood, and people don't have a traffic light on Burmaster. It's very difficult for them to get in and out of that neighborhood, and soon we're going to end up closing off the median between West X Street I know the Plenary wants to do that. I had to go out and ask Plenary to put a turning lane to get into Burmaster because every time they work on the center of the median, it closes off that, and I had to ask them if they would please reestablish that every time they finish working on it by the end of the day. And they are doing that. I appreciate that. But at a minimum, besides the electric sign, we could have put yard signs in the only two entrances and exits to remind people that the water was going to be going off. I know that what company, Barrier Construction Company, was supposed to send out a mailer. That didn't happen as well. And maybe Plenary could consider, or Barrier could consider distributing 1 or 2 gallons of water to certain people that might need it. So people were complaining to me that they came home, they didn't know the water was going to be off, they couldn't take a shower, but other people couldn't cook, and then some people who rely on CPAP machines and things like that had to leave and go get water that they could use for the machines. It was just very uncomfortable, and that could happen to any of us, you know. So I'd like us to also, in addition to that level of communication, which is remedial, the electronic sign, yard signs, et cetera, I'd like us to look forward to putting together the 311 system that we had talked about, that other parishes have, with reverse communication to the people. And I personally have been looking into a simple app that would allow the council members to separate their districts into different little portions and communicate directly from them as an official way of communicating with residents. So I wanted the residents to know that I have talked ad nauseum with different departments. I've talked with Plenary via their communication company, and everyone's looking into doing a better job next time. I'm sorry that you feel like you are the lost child of Belchase, because everything's happening in that neighborhood, and we are going to do a better job. I think so. Thank you.
Mr. Konovich?
Yes, on the FEMA deal, I got constituents calling me from the Ida storm. They signed agreements for FEMA to come in and take the damaged trailers and all. Can you find out where we at with that? Thank you.
Mr. Champagne?
Yeah, Mr. President, we've spoken about this at a number of meetings, and again, I thank you for taking the meetings that we have on Fridays. But one of the things I'd like to see briefed in the future would be the status of pumps per district, i.e., District 2 has 4 to 5 pumps operational with a maintenance plan to fix the 5th pump. Status of the backup generators for key infrastructure systems like the water plant. During Hurricane Ida, the water plant went down, the backup generator didn't work. It was just a bad day. But again, just to reassure our population that you guys are on it, and I know you are, we talk about it regularly, but I think it would be a benefit for you to start briefing that and let everybody know that you guys are on top of this, because I know you are, we talk about it. So thank you.
I didn't bring that paper, yeah, but we can, so Mr. LaFrance and Ms. Patty, we just supplied Ms. Patty and Mr. LaFrance with that same info, so we can start giving it to everybody. On the pump stations, anyway.
Yeah, we can have it during this meeting as well.
You know what I'm saying, is just briefing it, doing the briefing so that our constituency can hear it.
Sure.
And, everybody will have a level of confidence in going.
Mr. Schultz?
In regards to that, can you send that to me as well? Because I want to hit on that next week at the town hall. That way we can let the public know in our town hall what the status is of everything. And back to you, Ms. McCarty, I agree with everything mostly. It's just we got to make sure Plenary, since this is their project, that they're ultimately responsible. I had a water issue for 3 weeks in my district that was caused by somebody hitting the line, which was a parish issue. But this one was Plenary. It was a planned shut off. We need to make sure we have conversations with them.
Turn the water off.
But it was ultimately under Plenary's order. So we need to make sure that we're communicating with Plenary that they need to communicate with the residents just as much as we do.
Certainly.
So, yep.
Ms. McCarthy.
On the issue of the pumps, I just want to let people know in District 5 that station number 1 is operating at 100%, and pump station number 2 is operating at 66%. One pump is down. So we're going to look into that. I plan on taking a tour of the pumps, and I've already talked with Keith and other people within the state about grants that might bring that back up to 100%.
Any comments from the audience?
Hey, since this is the month of April, do anyone know, are we gonna have a Plaquemines Day at the legislature this year?
I think it's May 16th.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll be there.
We'll move to the next item, please.
4A, update by charter directors.
Everyone good? We'll move to the next item, please.
5, bids and advertisements. There are none. 6, beer and liquor licenses.
Key in if you have one. You, Dr. Gui?
MMCS Services LLC, store number 551, that is at 9144 Highway 23.
Mr. Georgich?
Yes, I have one for Dad's Bar and Grill LLC at 323, let me put my glasses, 81A Highway 23, Buras, Louisiana, 70041.
Yes. And I have a special event application for a crawfish cook-off in Diamond Park by Greg Gibson for May the 13th. We'll move to the next item, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Trying to rule this. We have a motion by Mr. Georgich, seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the table, from the audience? Machines are open. And the measure passes 9-0. We'll move to the next item, please.
7, building permits. 7A, construction permits.
We'll take item 1, 2, and 3 in globo.
7A1, Locks LLC, application number 2023-182, application date 3/16/23, drill the Mustang South Prospect B. All other structures were permitted with Mustang South Prospect A. Breton Sound Block 25, Councilmember Edwards. 2, Crescent Midstream LLC, application number 2023-202, application date 3/23/23. Maintenance dredging at the existing MP 69 to re-establish boat access. Pasalutra, Councilmember Edwards. 3, Gulf South Pipeline Company LLC, application number 2023-81, application date 2/6/23, proposes abandon in place by removal of existing 10-inch natural gas pipelines where they cross the Mississippi River near Venice. Gulf South will remove approximately 1,500 feet of each pipeline in response to USACE's Mississippi River Channel Dredging Deepening Project, Venice Area. Councilmember Kotnovich.
Do I have a motion?
So offered.
We have a motion by Mr. Georgich,
Second.
seconded by Reverend Evans. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes 8-4, 1 abstention. Next item, item B, please.
B, River Oaks West LLC, conditional approval for permanent RV park 26296 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. And this is for a conditional approval. And the condition is they have to
This is the other one.
Install, they have to install
This is
the,
the one on the opposite side of the road. This the map I have. For the 50-something lots?
Yeah, this is
West side.
Yeah.
oh, okay,
This
all
is
right,
the one Amitra talked about earlier.
okay. She said. All right,
This is one that you have been deferring.
okay.
That makes,
And what did she say, remind me?
We was gonna give him a temporary till he did the water line in the back
Well, that's,
on the east side.
oh, okay. Is that correct?
And I don't see that one in the.
Billwood Smith, 11745 Brixham Avenue.
that's G.
That's G, that's correct.
Right, we're on B. as
That's
in
correct.
boy.
It is in there.
It is. You're talking about Bill Woods? It's G. G's in good.
So we all right with B? Right.
Okay, so
And,
we're
and,
on
and the
B.
conditional use is you have to provide, install the 8-inch fire.
Underneath the road.
No,
There's two river
This is the B. That's the one on the other side of the road. G is the one he's got to extend the line from the River Road to the trailer park to add 22 more lots.
So item B is a new construction permit that we received approvals from all the departments on November 30th, and we have been deferred a handful of times.
all right, well, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna call, Amitra and get some clarification on that, and I'll come back to that item.
Well, so what you're referencing with item G is we are being required to,
We cannot discuss that until that item comes.
but I just want everyone to understand that we received all the department approvals on November 30th.
I understand that, what, you can talk about that item when we get to it.
No, I'm speaking on item B.
I just deferred it. So we're gonna move to the next item. We'll move to item C, please.
C.
We'll get back to it.
C, Tasty Cream Donuts, Ransock, 8921 Highway 23, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Gui.
Ask for a second.
We have a motion by Dr. Gui,
Second.
seconded by Ms. McCarthy.
Mr.
Dr.
Chairman,
Gui.
yes, sir, thank you. This was brought up last year. I think there's no question of anyone here or in the audience as to where I stand on this. However, I will say that, and I'm going to let Mr. Ransock speak in a minute, he has applied for the permit, received approval from all departments, went back to the state of Louisiana, DOTD, and received approvals. It's up to us to issue the permit, however, because this proposed donut shop is in a school zone. And so Mr. Sock caught me earlier and said he would have some comments he'd like to make about what progress he's made, and then I would indulge upon the council members to let me have my say, and then we can go from there. But Mr. Sock, if you will.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, so my name is Ryan Sok. My home address, my home address is 42 Sugar Plum, Homer, Louisiana. Okay. So I guess the last time I was here, the council wanted me to see if I could modify something, make it more safer for the school, for the children and stuff. And what I decided to do is to take out the drive-through so to reduce less traffic. So people just come park and go in and get the donut.
Okay. You, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. All right. You want to You-
I mean, I'm gonna lose a lot of business, but I have the drive-through. But if I could have the drive-through, that'd be great. Because everybody need drive-through, you know. But I mean, if that's what it takes for me to get my business going, I'm willing to go without it.
Wait, hold on, Mr. We were going to allow Mr. Gui first.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Any other comments you'd like to make, Mr. Saab?
Oh yeah, we was gonna have a lot of signs saying "slow down for school children," you know, stuff like that. Stop sign for safety, you know.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I would like to, let me see if we can get the mic on. Okay. I would like, do we have anything we can show on the screen? And look, I'm going to reiterate pretty much verbatim my concerns that I expressed last year. The location, if we look at it from the standpoint of where the streets are, there's a piece of property that is bounded by True Lane, which is a private lane on the north, and Time Acre Road, which is a parish-owned lane on the south. The highway frontage is under 90 feet, and this entrance and exit on the highway will be directly onto Highway 23. When the residents in the area, well, back over a year ago, a sign was put up saying, "Coming soon, Tasty Donuts," and I got the phone calls and called permit office, and the permit office said no permit was filed. So the sign came down, there was no permit filed. Out of sight, out of mind, I never thought of it again. And then I got the call from permits, it was on the agenda. So I did defer it several times, but when I met with the residents of the area, and when the map comes up, we'll be able to show you. This piece of property is surrounded, although it's zone C2, it is surrounded by residents. My concern is twofold. One is traffic safety. In order to get to the donut shop, anyone going northbound will be easy access. But anyone going southbound, there will be no easy access. They'll have to make a U-turn in front of OLPH school. At the same time, if there's an exit, someone exits and wants to go north, it's not a problem. They can come right out the exit of donut shop and go north. But if they want to go south, they have to go north, make a U-turn, and come back. Now, I've been driving a long time. And if somebody can squeak across the highway, even if it's against traffic a few feet, to try to get to the lane, away from the lane I'm on, we're going to do it. And more times than not, it leaves the back end of the vehicle in the street. So if you look at the map that we're talking about, I want to direct your attention to where the driveway is going to be. And we'll put the X on where the driveway is going to be. So the driveway is marked in black. There's a little arrow. So that driveway, if you look at it, is directly across from a neutral ground. So I don't have to tell you what Highway 23 traffic looks like. Anyone going in or out of that is going to have to contend with the traffic. And as you see, the position of the neutral ground, it is right across the entrance and exit. So to me, we're talking about a traffic issue, a potential traffic issue on a straight highway just south of the OLPH school, a site where it is very customary to see our sheriff's office with a radar detector, because that straightaway, okay, who you are, there's a tendency in a straightaway to hit a little bit on the accelerator and not know you're going past the speed limit. We've all done it. It's so common there that the sheriff's office, rightfully so, sets up speed traps there on a regular basis. I know because my dental office is right across the street. When I have to come out of my dental office and go south because I have to cross the highway, it is a scary thing to try to get across, get the car situated so the tail end is not on the street. So it's a high traffic area. As I said, it's in a school zone. So if we go back to the picture, and we'll first go to True Lane, Leslie, the street right above the donut shop, proposed donut shop, right there. Going to work in the morning, if you pass there, you're going to see a group of kids right there waiting on the bus. And then on Time Acre Road, you're going to see a group of kids waiting on the bus. In the wintertime, it's dark. Summertime, you've got light. So now we've added a school bus in that area. On Time Acre, there's an exit, proposed exit. The donut shop is the big white square. There's a proposed exit on the Time Acre. So we've got these kids standing there, getting ready to get on the bus. They got to worry about the traffic on Highway 23. Now they got to worry about more traffic on Time Acre Road. And then they have to get off the bus. So I see it as something that is putting our children in danger from traffic. It has nothing to do with Mr. Sock. It's the situation that's being created. In speaking with the residents, they expressed their concerns to me, and the moms and dads were there talking about their kids, expressing exactly what I just expressed to you. I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent, I'm a great-grandparent. So I get it. When they tell me you're going to let all of this traffic surround my kids when we're waiting on the bus, that is unacceptable. And it is to me. It's unacceptable to me. In a school zone, this parish has an ordinance that states no matter the zoning, if a proposed permit comes in that area of a school zone, it comes to the council members. And then we can decide if, are we creating a problem? Are we causing an unsafe situation? Are we introducing something that could be a traffic hazard? And then we have to decide if that's the case. Even though the permittee gets approved by all the departments in the parish, and in this case also the DOTD. So our actions on this permit will have consequences. If it passes, we'll have the consequences to have to look at those moms and dads if something happens and explain to them, we knew we created a hazardous situation and we passed it. Or it fails and we'll have consequences because Mr. Sock has spent a lot of money. He's gone through the process, and all he's asking is for a donut shop to be approved. That's all he's asking. What I'm having to face is my constituents and telling them that I am not going to approve personally a situation that's going to put your kids' lives in jeopardy. Now, that may sound like a stretch, but is a potential consequence of us approving this permit. Traffic in that area is not going to get any less. it's going to get more. Kids are always going to be in that area because the place is surrounded by residents. OLPH school is not going anywhere yet, so we still have the school zone. So I've said my piece. I cannot support this, but I respect everyone at this table, and you have to vote the way you think is the right way. I yield.
Mr. Champagne.
Yeah, I've looked at this and spoken to you, Dr. Gui, and with all due respect, I look at it a little bit different. Mr. Sock has made a substantial investment, I'm sure. He's trying to sell donuts. One thing that the school zone does provide for us, it slows traffic down. Traffic's 25 miles per hour. So it's not like they're driving 55 like they do in front of South Plaque. They're going 25 miles an hour. You've also stated there's a police officer traditionally there who's doing some traffic control. That's another form of deterrence. You said that the children on the corners, and I went and looked at it this morning. I can see where they are. And in the daytime, during daylight savings time, it's illuminated, and at night it's not. It's a danger. But when Mr. Sock builds his facility, the parking lot will be illuminated and probably provide more security for the kids who are traditionally standing in the dark. Now that area will be illuminated. The same condition exists by Belle Chase High School. We have 2 banks, a pharmacy, well, used to have a pharmacy, physical therapy place, and a law office that has traffic going all over the place, with areas that don't have traditional turnaround lanes. You have to go around, dart across, and all the same conditions exist there with the same kids on the corner. So what I'm looking at in terms of consistency, I see none. And I'm a father. I look out for the kids, and that's something we have to do. I think that the conditions that are in place are such that it'll be difficult. I think the kids will be okay. It's 25 miles per hour. When you're traditionally selling donuts, it's in the morning. It's not like it's running all hours of the night. And you've already said you're going to be closed midday, so we have to control those conditions in the morning. So if conditions we pointed out, I think, and it does pass, it's incumbent on us to make sure that we are controlling that area. We can get with Sheriff Turlich to increase traffic control. I'll tell you that the residents knew the zoning there when they built their homes and knew it could essentially be there. Again, not trying to sell the safety of their children short, just trying to be fair and equitable across the parish. I yield.
Ms. McCarty?
I tend to concur with Mr. Champagne. I have a question for you, however. I'm wondering, there is a small patch of ground in the neutral, as a neutral ground. Have you talked to LATODD about removing that and making it open?
Yeah, ask them. They say they're not going to remove it.
Okay. I don't know if you can, but that's the question. You can't? Okay, just wondering. Okay, the school zone begins at 8910 Highway 23, and which is approximately 75 feet from your property. I'm just going from memory. I know where the sign is. It's in front of a friend's house. So that is at the beginning of the school zone. So it's far enough away from the actual school and where the police would be located, et cetera, that I do think that it would not cause as great a issue. Do you plan on putting additional lighting in that area?
Yes, there will be lighting for the parking lot. It will be bright for the customer to park for safety.
Okay, so even if you're closed, you're going to have a lot of light in that area.
Yeah, it will come automatic, the light.
Okay. That's all I have to ask, Mr. Sock. Thank you.
Mr. Newsom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sock, thank you for coming in here and
Thank you, sir.
expressing all these issues. You know, and we can talk about a bunch of things, Dr. Go ahead, respect all your comments and all that, but I'm going to switch over and look at the positive that can be done on this. I do know the property is close to a residence. You know, I'm going to look at it, and maybe not every morning, but some of the mornings, the residents of that neighborhood can get together and drink some coffee together. and talk about things. You know, those type of things don't happen anymore. I know about the kids for the school buses on both streets. I'm sure Mr. Sock would not have a problem if they come inside and sit and wait for the bus inside there. You know, on the rainy days, on the foggy days, on the dark days, you know, they can come sit there. Maybe they'll eat a donut, you know, and drink some hot chocolate or some chocolate milk. So that thing's, you know, and the entire length of the property, we do have, as you expressed, a few residents, a few businesses that are along that school zone. And the sheriff department does an excellent job of slowing them down. You know, this packet here is I went through it. It's a pretty detailed packet that Mr. Sock has done. I think some of our subdivisions are not this thick, this packet here is. So I think he's went and done everything that this government, that permits, that has asked him to do. So with that, Mr. Sock, I got one question. You said your time. What, you're going to be closing at?
Oh, we can be open from 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. because we're selling strictly donut. That's it. No lunch, no dinner.
Every day, Monday?
Yes, 7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Yes.
Thank you. That's basically all. Thank you, Mr. Sock, and I yield.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Gouy? Mr. Schultz?
So, is the neutral ground still there since the highway, since they repaved? Okay. So my concern is, I mean, I'm a father. They speed down the streets, residential streets, so I'm waiting for the school zone. So I see it all the time. I understand the concerns. My concern, though, also is Mr. Sock has followed all the rules. He's gone through the permit process. He has spent money. And then we are coming back and saying no, which I understand he has to come through us for the school zone approval. But I remember this happening last year. And at the time when he originally applied, did the school zone approval, was that in effect, or was this? No. So he was following the rules at the time, and he would never had to get the approval, except for this was enacted after the fact, the school zone approval. So my concern is it sets a bad precedent if we have business people try and come in, following all the rules, getting the proper permits, and then it's properly zoned, and then changing the rules moving the goalposts is a common example. So that's my only concern. I don't know, maybe if a thought, think out the box, if we can move the donut shop up a couple feet and put a gravel road behind it, and maybe put the school zone, they can go down one road, pick up kids, go behind the building, and then come back up the other road. That way it will solve. I don't know. I'm just thinking outside the box, possibly, of different solutions. Ms. McCarty talked about it's 10 feet from the start of the school zone, but that's 75 feet, sorry. But it's going the opposite direction where that school zone starts. So it's going to be at the end of the school zone, so they should already be going slow. Like I said, my concern is we're changing the rules after the fact. I don't like that we're doing that. I understand the concern as a parent, and seeing Highway 23 every day. I'm a volunteer firefighter. With the amount of accidents on Highway 23 with the speeding and everything, I understand that. But at the same time, we had rules in place, and you follow them. I yield.
Reverend Edwards?
Yeah, well, most of my questions have been answered, that he met all the requirements. I was really confused about what this is all about. But now that I'm saying you have a businessman who met all the requirements that he's supposed to do, I'm not in agreement that he should have to change a lot of stuff. He met all the requirements already, and I don't think that we should go against this permit when he met all the requirements. I mean, if they don't want you, we could use the donut shop on East Bank of the River. We could use the donut shop on East Bank of the River.
All right, any comments from the audience?
Thank the council. I see a difference. I see a way that we're moving forward here, man. Scott, did everything you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do. If you want an opportunity to advance his family in Belshades, make him a part of the community, I don't see anything wrong with that. I I commend the council for you guys approving them because you got the vote.
We ain't voted yet now. Is there any more comments?
I think Councilman Champagne hit the nail on the head here, fair and equitable. I am also a business person in the parish. I've followed all the rules. I've followed all the guidelines. I've been drug along for nearly 6 months now. I've met with Mr. LaFrance. I've met with Mr. Jurisic. I've met with Mr. Kognovich. I've done everything in my power. I hope this man gets his donut shop. I hope I get my RV park. I completely agree with Mr. Henry. I think this council's making great strides in the right direction, and that's all I have.
Voting machines is open. And the measure passes 8-4, 1 against. We'll go back to item 7B.
River Oaks West LLC, conditional approval for permanent RV Park 26296 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Juricic. Any comments from the audience? From the table?
I do.
Mr. Schultz?
Again, it's one of those things I've gotten calls about this, and there are complaints. However, the current rules on the book you have followed. You have met all the conditions. I have heard some complaints and everything, but I feel like it's unfair to you, just like it was Mr. Sock, that if we change the rules after the fact. So that's just my view. If we need to change the rules, we need to do it as a council. Put ordinances in place where, like in the future, Mr. Gooey put the school zone thing in place for the future. It will solve this problem in the future. But at the time, these are the rules in place. I yield.
Mr. Newsom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Blight, I apologize. Smith, could you come on? I got a question. So I see on this thing you got every approval under the sun here that you've been having for a while. But one thing says here, it says with proper installation of fire hydrants and an 8-inch water line. Has that been done?
The boring was actually completed today. That's a requirement of any RV park. That's nothing abnormal.
Correct.
But with the construction of the RV park, there absolutely will be an 8-inch water line, yes, with fire hydrants.
Thank you, sir. How many hydrants you figure you're going to need? Did they tell you? Permit office tell you?
The engineer here, he might have a more specific answer. It's every 250 feet, I believe.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Mr. McCarthy?
I just wanted to ask, how many RVs will be in this park?
It's 53 spaces, which is the number allowed with the ordinance.
Okay, and were we talking about limiting to 30 at some point?
That hasn't been passed. We just have that legislation there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes 9-0.
Thank you all very much. I completely agree. This has been a long, hard fight, and I'm very happy.
You got what you want, go sit down.
Yeah.
Want to do the rest in Globo?
7D.
Let's take 7D, E, F, and G.
Say that again?
Wait. Let's just do item D, E, and F.
Okay. Lot Boys 2 fireworks stand renewal for 2023-1454 Woodland Highway, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Councilmember Champagne. E. Max Pratt RV Trailer and Floodplain Zoning District 128 Rabbit Road, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. Councilmember LaFrance. F, Michael Jarrow, RV Trailer and Floodplain Zoning District 127, Rabbit Road, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered. Seconded by Mr. Schultz. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Machines is open. And the measure passes 9-0. We'll take item G, please.
Billwood Smith Jr. River Oaks RV Park additional approval for 22 additional spaces, 26287 Highway 23, Port Sulphur. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered. Second. Seconded by Mr. Jurich. Any comments from the audience? Table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes 9-0.
H, Cypress Cove Marina Incorporated Local CUP CZM 2023-01, maintenance dredging within Cypress Cove Marina Basin, 226 Cypress Cove Road, Venice, LA 70091. Councilmember Kotnovich.
Offer. He wants to be me, huh? Y'all calling him Kotnovich, and then he wants to be.
Motion by Mr. Kotnovich, seconded by Mr. Jurich. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Ms. McCarthy.
I just have a simple question. I'm looking at the map here. There are red triangles or red markings on the map. Is that where they're going to dredge?
That's where he's going to put the dredge material.
Oh, okay. I see. Thank you.
Any more comments from the table? Administration? Machines open. And the measure passes 9-0. We'll move to the next item, please.
8, introduction of ordinances and resolutions.
We defer item 1.
That's introductions. Can't defer.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I was going or not?
Trying to get out of here. Been a long
Go ahead.
Okay, we have 15. And the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first 6 are for Councilmember LaFrance. An ordinance to amend the 2023 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Buildings, Port Sulphur Freeport Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2023 Manpower Structure and Revenue and Operating Expenditure Budgets, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2023 General Fund Revenue and Operating Expenditure Budgets, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, Restore Act multi-year implementation / administration plan project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution giving preliminary approval to the issuance of not to exceed $12 million of revenue bonds of the Parish of Plaquemines, State of Louisiana, and providing for other matters in connection herewith. A resolution approving and authorizing Rochelle Morrell, Comptroller, to execute a Louisiana compliance questionnaire to Colder, Slavin and Company, LLC, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The next one is for Councilmember Champagne, an ordinance to amend the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, by enacting Section 2-22 to be titled Procedures for the Appropriation of Funds from the Fund Balance Designated for Infrastructure, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The next 4 are for Councilmember Schultz. An ordinance to amend and as amended enact and reenact provisions of Section 22-8, 22-22, and Section 22-23 of the Parish Code of Ordinances, establishing new water rate and sewage usage charges and a new refuse fee, establish an annual consumer price index adjustment to commence on January 2025, water bills for water and sewage usage charges fees, and refuse fees, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2023 general fund operating expenditure budget, registrar of voter department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2023 general fund operating expenditure budget, buildings-general department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution to amend and as amended, readopt resolution number 15-213 and rescind resolution number 19-157 and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The next three are for Councilmember Jurisic. An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of Lot 6, Upper Star Plantation, Section 19, Township 15 South, 24 East, Southeastern District of Louisiana, west of the Mississippi River, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into Lot 6A and 6B, Upper Star Plantation, Section 19, Township 15 South, Range 24 East, Southeastern District of Louisiana, west of the Mississippi River, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the plan and plat of survey by Dufresne Surveying and Engineering, Inc., dated August 12, 2022, the owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of two undesignated lots and part of Lot 5, Alex Palas Division, Section 40, Township 19 South, Range 28 East, Southeast District of Louisiana, west of the Mississippi River, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into lots 5-1 and 5-2, Alex Palas Division, Section 40, Township 19, Range 28 East, Southeastern District of Louisiana, west of the Mississippi River, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on plan and plat of survey by Dufresne Surveying and Engineering, Inc., dated November 29, 2022, the owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines, without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2023 manpower structure and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And finally, one for Councilmember Konovich, an ordinance to enact Section 2-22 of the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And that is it.
9, ordinances and resolutions on second reading and final passage. 9A, ordinances and public hearings pursuant to Article 6, Section 601E of the Plaquemines Parish Charter. 9A1, an ordinance. 9A2, an ordinance. 9A3, an ordinance prohibiting the sale of imported shrimp in the Parish of Plaquemines and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the audience? We have a resolution?
I think the legal department had offered a substitute in lieu of this.
Right.
Isn't there another one?
Now, we have a resolution
I'm sorry, for what?
for the shrimp.
Yes.
Aye.
You have
That was offered, wasn't it introduced at the last meeting?
Yes.
It's on aye?
Aye. You have 9A3 that you had on the agenda. I don't
Right.
know if you were going to withdraw that one.
Okay, withdraw it.
Okay.
Deferred 4. We go to item 5.
Defer 5?
No.
No. 5, an ordinance to amend Chapter 13 of the Parish Code of Ordinances by enacting Article X, Food Truck Regulations, establishing the rules and regulations regarding the permitting, operation, and sale of food products from mobile vehicles in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz.
I offer.
We have a motion by Mr. Schultz, seconded by Mr. Champagne. Mr. Schultz.
So the purpose of this ordinance is to adopt permitting and health and safety regulations related to the food truck industry that currently we do not have on the books, and they have been held up in permit process.
Any comments from the audience? From the table?
Yes.
Ms. Keehan, thank you. Mr. Reverend
You
Everett?
say we don't have no ordinance to, you talking about people that are selling stuff from food truck?
Correct.
Okay.
Currently, there's no way for them to get permits through Plaquemines Parish in order to go to private businesses and sell from a food truck. So what we're trying to do is make sure they have a process of doing that, but also that we are following health and safety guidelines put forth by the Department of Health, I'm guessing. And that way we can have, open up the new business for residents.
And the legal is working with you on that?
Yes, legal actually was, I brought it to legal with the occupational license person from PPSO, and Mr. Burris has worked for a couple weeks on this to try and make sure everything is legal.
Did I ever give you?
Thank you.
What?
Did I ever give you an amendment? I didn't give you an amendment?
Amendment? No.
No? Okay.
I think we changed it before the introduction. You sent me one before the introduction. Like, so this is,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to, Mr. France, comment.
Mr. Newsom?
I'd like to thank Mr. Schultz and the legal department for hard work on this. This wasn't easy. This is another step moving forward in Plaquemines Parish for a brighter day. And I think this can only be a positive, and I will support this. Thank you.
Any comments from the audience? From the administration? Machines are open? And the measure passes 9-0. We're going to defer item B. Move to item C, please.
C, an ordinance to amend and as amended re-adopt the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances, Section 217, Rules for Transaction of Business Before the Council. Chapter...
We're going to withdraw it.
Withdraw. D, an ordinance to amend the 2023 General Fund and Road Maintenance Fund, operating the expenditure budget, disaster preparedness department, and road maintenance public right-of-way department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance. This has changes.
Thank you. On line 3, the language, on 3 and 4, the language and the firefighting fund operating expenditure budget, firefighting general department has been added. On line 7, and the firefighting general department has been added. On line 9, at the end of the sentence, the following language has been added, and the firefighting fund unreserved undesignated fund balance. On line 16, the sum of $800,000 has been changed to $450,000. On line 25, the sum of $600,000 has been changed to $250,000. There is a new section 2 which reads as follows. The 2023 Firefighting Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Firefighting General Department is amended by appropriating $350,000 from the Firefighting Fund Unreserved Undesignated Fund Balance as follows. And then there's the chart that puts it into the line item for the Firefighting Fund General Department Equipment, which has been increased by $350,000. And that is it.
Do we have a second?
Did you offer?
I offer. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
You want to offer for discussion? Or you want to move on that item?
Well, I'm seconding. That's you offer. Discussion.
Discussion.
We'll move it, I'll offer for discussion,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Newsom. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Mr. Konovich.
Can y'all explain what we getting and why it's coming from the fire department funds?
Do we have the list?
Okay. Well, we sat with Mr. Butcher, the superintendent, and we broke it down. So he pretty much agreed the items that we're pulling from the fire department, those are assets that he would be able to use throughout the year. That's basically, that's why.
What equipment we buying?
Oh, man, I had it broke down on another list, but that, we didn't bring it with us here. The fuel tanks, the forklift, and there was 2 of the generators, and then also, we also looked at getting 2 whips to go along with those generators.
Why buy fuel tanks when we could sign an agreement with TriStar or another company that has fuel and deliver with a truck?
Mr. Tuzak he's not here, but he could probably better explain it because he lived the experience through Hurricane Ida. I know we're talking about being able to get these assets at the drop of a dime, but I'm being told that it doesn't quite work as fast as that right there. So,
but if we went and signed a contract with a company saying, if a storm comes through, I want a 1,000-gallon truck.
Here's what I'm only going through what I'm being told, and what, through their experience is this right here, is that we may be in line. One area with a better population, they may be hit harder, and they may have more need of it, so that we're going to be put at the back of the line, even though we do sign these contracts. And we're going to be signing these pre-positioning contracts with contractors to be able to do this here in the near future. And even then, they will decide, some of them may decide, say, you know what, there's not enough work here in Plaquemines Parish. We may go over to Calcasieu or Vernon or Vermilion or another area if they're hit at the same time right there. So, I mean, we just need to be prepared and be ready to be able to get fuel right here.
Because me, if I'm going to sign a contract, I'm going to sign a contract with a company that's in the parish. That way I know he's going to take care of his own before, but.
Yeah.
Mr. Newsom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, on this list, get my glasses. We want to buy 6 tanks, fuel cubes, and it says something about they can be shipped with fuel in them. Where would we keep these items?
Well, we can keep them right here in the complex by prom.
I'm going to tell you what my problem is with this. If we buy 6 fuel tanks with fuel in them, when time comes for the hurricane and need them, guess how much fuel is going to be in there? We all know the answer to that. And look, we can do our best on anything, but it happens. It's happened throughout the parish. I'm kind of leaning with Mr. Konovich about, Tri-State's right here close. Have we reached out to him and talked to him about a truck?
Yeah, let me address some of that, Mr. Newsom, and the rest of the council. So I have a pretty long history in emergency services, and we're kind of right and we're kind of wrong. So all of these companies will offer you contract options, but one, it's at a cost. You have to prepay that, and you may or may not use it, and you do not get your money back. You basically reserve the equipment you think you'll need, and then you just pay for it. The second thing is the intent. What that means, Ronnie, is when it's shipped, it means we can ship it. We're going to get them empty and store them empty. When we need fuel pre-storm, we'll load those and charge them full of fuel. That way we can ship them to a pump station or a generator or wherever it needs to go. It doesn't mean we buy them and they get delivered with fuel in them and then we wait 8 months to use them. It just means we ship them with the fuel.
Okay, answer that. You know, and I looked at the generator issue, added it up with including the service contract. I guess that's a service contract, says still working on it. Comes to over $440,000. These, you know, where, and I had an option today, I just saw it, myself and Mr. Champagne, we rode back to the quad complex, and I saw 6 generators sitting out there. I don't have no idea what size they are, but they're sitting out in the open, in the rain. I got a huge concern about how we maintain our equipment here. And look, you guys are, as well as me, or less, a little over 3 months into our term, onto our, whatever you call this. So we got aluminum airboats under a cover, and we got all these generators sitting out in the weather. You know, it faddens me that we don't look at it. So it's hard for me to spend $442,000 on generators when I have no idea where we're going to keep them. We got them on this list. Where are we going to use them? That's not nowhere on here. I know we're going to use them through the parish, probably at the water station. But did we do?
Mr. Newsom, let's go on and defer this item and where the administration can get us all the answers. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right. Deferred. That item is deferred. We'll move to item E, please.
Deferred.
Item E is deferred.
9F should be deferred also, per finance.
Item F is deferred. Item G.
A resolution authorizing Plaquemines Parish government to join the Attorney General of Louisiana in litigation against FEMA to challenge risk rating 2.0 and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered. And I ask for a unanimous second. Yep. Okay, you will have a unanimous second. Any questions, comments from the audience?
Robert L. Thomas, Director of PABI. Council Chairman, Council members, thank you very much. At this late hour, do you care for me to read this statement? If you're going for unanimous second, I think you're covering our intent of what the Business Association wants in this parish. We got to do something with FEMA to stop this risk rating 2.0. So I'm just going to stand by and let you all vote. Thank you very much for supporting it.
Any more comments from the audience? From the table? Mr. Champagne?
No comment.
Reverend Edwards?
None.
From administration? Machines are open. And your measure passes unanimously, 9-0.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Schultz?
Can I have a motion to reconsider the vote on item 9A5?
Second.
We'll move to item 9A5.
Got to vote on the reconsideration.
Let's see.
Yeah, I'll explain in a second. Vote for reconsideration.
9A5, an ordinance to amend Chapter 13 of the Parish Code of Ordinances by enacting Article X, food truck regulations, establishing the rules and regulations regarding the permitting, operation, and sale of food products from mobile vehicles in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz. This has changes.
I offer with changes.
We got to
Oh,
vote
yep,
on
sorry,
the
yep.
We
reconsideration.
have to, Mr. Schultz make a motion for reconsideration. We have a seconded by Mr. Konovich. Machines are open. And the measure passes 9-0 for reconsideration.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 13 of the Parish Code of Ordinances by enacting Article X, Food Truck Regulations, establishing the rules and regulations regarding the permitting, operation, and sale of food products from mobile vehicles in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Schultz.
Mr. Schultz.
I offer with changes.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Conovich.
You want me to
Will we read the changes?
Yeah, well, I'm going to give a quick overview. A lot of it's just technical terms, article becoming capital and everything. But the main change, which I missed when I introduced this, was the last page, lines 217 through 219. This article shall not apply to vegetable and fruit stands currently regulated by Chapter 11, food supplies of Part 23, retail food establishments of the Louisiana State Sanitary Code. Everything else is just grammar and minor changes, but that's the main change. Correct, Mr. Bierce?
Yeah, that's correct. I forwarded on. Usually I copy Kim on these offer with changes, but I was waiting for approval from Mr. Schultz, which I never received comments, so I assumed it was forwarded on to Ms. Toops, which it wasn't. So this was, in fact, given the Friday prior to. But yes, that's the only substantial change. I just wanted to make sure that all the fruit and vegetable stands along Highway 23 understood that they weren't going to be regulated by the mobile food truck unit, that they have their own regulations that they've been following, and we weren't changing that with regard to them.
Any comment from the audience? From the table?
Do we have a second for the actual resolution?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Conovich.
Did you say that out loud?
Yes.
Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously, 9-0.
Thank you.
9H is deferred. 9I, a resolution directing the president of the Parish of Plaquemines to issue a formal request to the state of Louisiana to enact legislation directed to the State Department of Health and Human Services, DHH, requiring that the said agency expand its programs testing imported shrimp from outside of the United States, to include testing for all possible harmful substances, and further to pass legislation providing sufficient funding to DHH to enable the establishment of sufficient testing procedures and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered. Seconded by Mr. Champagne. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And your measure passes unanimously, 9-0. Next item, please.
9J is deferred. 9K, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement.
Yeah, all those with my name on it is deferred. KLNM.
Nine N, a resolution to amend resolution number 97. O, an ordinance to amend the 2023 general fund operating expenditure budget, Parish Council District 5 Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember McCarty, this has changes.
We have changes just in the digest, so I don't know how we're going to handle that. Like,
What?
does that consider, I wanted to ask, is it considered an actual change if it's just in the digest?
I don't think so. It's not part of the ordinance.
Okay.
It's for informational purposes only.
Okay. Y'all all have it, so y'all know what's the change in the digest, but it's just explaining, I'm on the wrong ordinance. Yes, hold on. Okay, in the digest, at the end of line 5, the following language has been added. The funds are being transferred within the Parish Council District 5 Department's budget. The department is in need of a new computer due to they currently have no working computers. And that is it.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Reverend Evans. Ms. McCarthy.
Okay, most offices have 2 computers, one for an assistant and one for the council member. We did not have a computer for the assistant because District 5 did not have an assistant previously. And now the computer for the council member does not operate. It doesn't work. So now I'm having to try and replace possibly 2 computers. And right now, I'm just moving money from one line item in District 5's budget to another line item to try and assess the situation and purchase a computer.
Any comments from the audience? From the table? Mr. Konovich.
I have an extra computer in the museum if you want it. Works fine. I don't use it. I'll go in at night and use Doty's computer, so.
We'll look at it, yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Newsom?
Yes, Ms. McCarthy, this brings up the issue, and it's a bigger issue than this, moving funds from inside everyone's district. I don't know, it wasn't done, it was done previous for the 6 new council members got on, but there's no regularity on it. The budgets are all over the place. District 6 budget is $2,350. Your budget is $12,000 for District 5. District 2 has a whopping $500. I don't know who made this or who did that, but that's totally messed up. If anybody can't see that, as I'll use Reverend Everett's term, Stevie Wonder could see that's messed up. So with that, we're going to have to make some changes to that and move forward. Thank you.
Mr. Schultz?
Took what I was going to say. The budget, remember what that got you earlier today. So, I mean, our budgets go all the way from 18,000 to, for one council member, 12,000, 10,000 to mine, which is 700, and Mr. Champagne's, which is 500. So one of the things I'm going to be pushing for next budget hearing is where we're the same across the board. I'd say we need to drop our budgets, set the example, and try to control our spending. Second thing is, I know my office just put 1 computer and 3 monitors or 2 monitors into surplus, so we might be able to get those back. We have not sent them off yet, so that's something to consider. Other thing is, have you contacted IT for the cost of how much this is going to cost, actually? Because he sent me quotes for a Surface Pro, which is what we use, and then what the assistants use, and total it comes out to about $3,800. So I think if we're going to be doing this, we need to be more precise in our transfers from one account to another, where we don't have excess funds just sitting over. So
I can always move back what it turns out that I don't need, but right now I don't have a single computer.
yeah,
I don't, the printer that I have is archaic, and if I were to continue to use it, which I'm going to try and jerry-rig it, the ink for that is $600 to replace the ink in it.
that would come from the supply budget. That's what I'm saying. You're moving to the capital projects, which then makes it more restrictive than the supply budget. So if you move it for the ink to capital projects, then you got to come back and do it again. So I'm just saying we need to be more precise in what we're asking for.
And I'm speaking to the greater picture, which is when I moved into the office, I didn't even have as much as a paperclip.
I agree. I didn't have much either. I'm buying stuff with my own money and $500 budget. So I completely understand. I'm just saying we're spending taxpayer dollars. So I just want to make sure before, I know Mr. Champagne has hit on this before when we introduce stuff, where the numbers are coming from. Like, are we just pulling numbers from anywhere, or did we get quotes or anything like that?
I was told to move this amount. Actually, I was told to move 6,000. So we just said, we're just going to move 5,000, figure it out, and then we'll move things back.
Okay.
You know.
I yield.
Mr. Newsom?
Yes, I'm copying off of Mr. Schultz here. When we spending money, we asked the administration when we spent that money, and they gave us a detailed thing on where they was going to spend their money. Here, we got hardware, computer hardware. That's, in my opinion, is too vague for me. I'd much rather see what we're buying. I don't even know what we're buying. Are we buying hardware? Are we buying a computer? What are we doing here? So with that, Ms. Patty, I'd like you to defer this item. And we do have some other computers that you can get offered to other councilmen. But at the time, and let's get a list of what we actually going to spend. Thank you.
Really prefer not to defer this because I have not had a computer at all since we got in.
If you can't wait, I mean, you
Totally
need
agree.
a computer, but I'm just saying for the future.
I can't vote for something. I don't know what we're spending money on.
I'm moving money within my own department.
We all had the same amount of money as you, Ms. McCarty.
I didn't put it there.
I didn't either.
Mr. Champagne?
Well, I think everybody understands we need to be more prudent with how we spend people's money. But Ms. McCarty can't go without a computer. I recommend you get with IT, get them to pick out what you need. We need to get you
We've already
productive
asked.
because you've been elected by the people. You have a job to do, and they put their trust and faith in you to spend their money equitably, and I'm sure you will. So coordinate with IT. Let's get you going. And if Habo has some hardware we can utilize, it's worth getting. But again, we don't want to give you junk to where 6 months from now you're having to redo this. So I think we all understand we're trying to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money, but we have to get you functional. We owe you that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I yield.
Mr. Konovich?
I agree. It's her budget, her money. If she wants to, we pass it. She gets the computer from me. She gets the computer from y'all if they're good. If not, you buy a new one.
Well, you get 2,500.
Huh?
Reverend Evans?
No, I was in total agreement that I hope she didn't withdraw it because I know the feelings. When I took office, I didn't have paper clips. I was going to the clerk of court office to get scissors and all that, so I know that feeling. And it's her money. She should be able to, do that. So I hope she don't withdraw it because I'm planning on voting for it.
Mr. Schultz?
And I agree. I wasn't trying to say withdraw it because you need a computer, you need to work. However, and I didn't even tell you about the 3 laptops that I sent to surplus. Those, don't even try to go after those because from what I understand, they're useless. So that's why I didn't bring up the laptops. But I'm just saying we need to watch where we put the money from and stuff like that. Make sure we do the research beforehand. That's all I was saying was have you looked into
I
it?
agree.
Come on, let's wind up this discussion. Mr. Jurich?
Get out of here.
Anybody got a color printer that we can have down in District 8 or a new paper shredder? Because we're fighting that. That's all I wanted to say.
Any questions from the table? From the administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes 9-0.
P, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan repair South Concord Road project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Newsom.
That's so awful.
We have a motion by Mr. Newsom. Seconded by Mr. Schultz. Mr. Newsom.
Yes, this is an ordinance to appropriate $200,000 to the repairs of South Concord Road project from the fund balance for infrastructure. This road was recently patched by Mr. Wisher's team. Did a wonderful job. Didn't fix the problem, but to this date, we don't have a, 4 or 5 foot hole, 4 or 5 foot wide. I have gotten calls from residents. School buses, we have 3 different, we have the Belle Chase High School bus, we have the elementary bus and the middle school bus. Now, some are the same buses, but at different times, these buses are coming up and down the street and couldn't pass. At least now they can pass. This money gives us time to look into it and try to fix it. We're going to try to schedule this around summertime that we don't have to shut the street down and pack school buses. And this amount of dollars came from Mr. Dugas, and he said he had looked at it and he's got some cameras stuck in there. So this is where the funds come from. Thank you.
Any comments from the audience? From the table? From administration? Machines open. And the measure passes unanimously, 9-0. Next item, please.
Q, an ordinance to amend the 2023 General Fund Operating Expenditure Budget, Recreation Facilities and Services Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Newsom.
I so offer.
We have a motion by Mr. Newsom, seconded by Mr. Schultz. Mr. Newsom,
Y'all must have saved the best for last.
what's that?
Saved the best for last.
Oh, okay.
So this is also an ordinance appropriate additional funding, the amount of $2,500 to purchase a vehicle through that LGAP grant, which was awarded to us way back when. And we had to increase the vehicle purchase. What happened in this issue is, and this was told to me by finance, the recreation department in their budget spent the money before we could get this done. So we didn't have enough money to buy the truck. So what we had to do is put it back. Ms. Morrell has assured me that this type of problem will not happen again in her tenure. She said it was an oversight by some folks, and that's why we got to come back to you guys and get some additional funds to buy the Recreation Department a truck. Thank you.
Any comments from the audience? From the table? From administration? Machines open. And the measure passes 9-0.
10, approval of the minutes from the March 23rd, 2023 regular meeting.
We have a motion by Mr. Schultz, seconded by Mr. Jurich. On the minutes, machines open. The measure passes 9-0 on the minutes.
11, new business. 11A, introduction of resolutions wherein suspension is being sought.
We have one.
A resolution authorizing and directing the council chairman to retain blank attorney at law to represent A resolution authorizing and directing the council chairman to retain Danny P. Garrett III, attorney at law, to represent the Plaquemines Parish Council for such advice it deems necessary, both individually and as a whole, including but not limited to attendance at public hearings and legal representation before any parish or state board or committee in any court of law, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I so offer.
Second.
Seconded by Reverend Edwards. Oh,
You got to vote for the suspension.
yeah. Okay.
Wait, Danny's waving back there.
Actually, because the resolution's not on the agenda, you would have to add that resolution to the agenda, which takes unanimous vote. Then, because it's not, if it was intended to be voted on at the meeting in which it's being offered, you then would also have to suspend your rule, which takes a 2/3 vote. Then you could actually vote on the resolution. Just like you did earlier. Yeah. Part one, the first thing you have to do, because the resolution, the motion the resolution in which suspension is being sought was not on the agenda, you have to add it to the agenda, much like you did earlier, where you had the first vote that takes a unanimous vote to add that item to the agenda. Then you can undertake it under a suspension of the rules. But it takes a unanimous vote to add that item to the agenda.
We have a motion on the floor to add this item to the agenda, seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any questions from the table? Machines open. And the measure passes 9-0.
I'll suspend the rules.
Now we have a motion, I offer a motion to suspend the rules,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any questions from the table? Machines open. And it passes 9-0.
I'll read the resolution.
A resolution authorizing and directing the council chairman to retain Danny P. Garrett III, attorney at law, to represent the Plaquemines Parish Council for such advice it deems necessary, both individually and as a whole, including but not limited to attendance at public hearings and legal representation before any parish or state board or committee in any court of law, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I so offered. Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Questions from the table? Ms. McCarthy.
I have a question regarding, this is to affirm Mr. Garrett as our attorney or to have a vote? We have two people that are applying for the position, so I just want a clarification of what this is, right here.
This is to nominate it to rehire Mr. Garrett as our council attorney.
If it passes, it passes. If it fails, then we introduce the other one.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Any more comments from the table? Could you let them know the hourly rate on what line? 26?
200.
Oh, okay, you have it? I didn't know you had it.
Is there any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines open? And the measure passes 5-4, 4 against.
Now y'all see what we went through the last 4 years.
I thought we were working together.
Gotta keep it real.
I want to defer B.
Defer B?
Can we congratulate Mr. Garrett?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations, Mr. Garrett.
Thank y'all very much.
11C, District 6 update, Councilmember Newsom, cleaning of culverts on Highway.
Deferred.
Wishes took care of that last.
Councilmember Edwards, District.
All right, but I'd like to meet with you, Mr. President.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Konovich,
Unanimous.
seconded by Mr. Schultz. Machines open.
Councilmember Edwards.
Edwards,
Oh, yes, indeed.
are you sure?
And the measure passes 9-0. We have adjournment at 7:24 PM.